Gather round, boys and girls, because today we're going to do a quick sound card roundup. On our site, djtechtools.com, we've got a complete review of all these devices, some of their performance specs, and more details about what we think. But right now I want to run you through each of them and give you a brief overview of why some of them are pretty cool and why some of them are not so cool. We're looking at all these sound cards from the perspective of a DJ, so which sound cards are good for DJs to use in clubs. On the left, I've got the MAudio Fasttrack 2. This is a small card. One of the things I liked about this card is that it is so small. It's got a nice aluminum enclosure. One of the other things I like about it is that it's FireWire, so you don't have to use up one of your USB ports. Could also be a bummer, though, if you don't have FireWire on your laptop or if you buy a new laptop that doesn't have FireWire. Next one over, we've got the Audio Box from PreSonus. This sound card is geared more towards the producer, but it's got just the right outputs for a DJ. It's got a pair of main outputs and a phono output on the back. One bummer about this sound card and the Echo that you should recognize is that both of these cards only have one pair of outputs. So if you're planning on running more than one source to a DJ mixer, you need to get a different card, more like the Audio 4, which has multiple outputs. Now, the Audio Box USB, you can see, has got some mic inputs on the front, pretty good, nice firm aluminum enclosure, and it also has MIDI in and out ports if you happen to have wanted to run some MIDI devices directly out of your sound card. Next, we've got the Audio 4 from Native Instruments, and of course, this card was specifically designed with DJs in mind. It's a very robust aluminum enclosure. It's got really low latency and nice loud outputs. The loudest outputs out of the group actually come from this guy, which had about 2 or 3 dB louder outputs than him, but the Audio 4 outshone most of the other cards in terms of loudness in our tests. Next over, we've got the Focusrite Saffire. This is a bigger card. One cool thing about this particular card that the others don't have is it's got +4 balanced outputs, and it's got some good microphone preamps. This card, I think, would be particularly good for mobile DJs who want to go ahead and run these outputs directly to a pair of powered speakers. Because they're balanced, you can run cables long distances and not get any interference. It also has 2 unbalanced outputs and a pair of MIDI jacks. It's also USB, strangely enough, USB 1.1, but we didn't have any problems with latency on this guy, although the outputs were fairly quiet, and it's probably the biggest card out of the bunch, making it not quite as portable as you might like. Next up, we've got the MAudio Fasttrack Pro, a popular card with a nice low price point. It's got a pair of RCA outputs on the back, and it's got a lot of other features. Again, a card that's more focused at producers, but you find a lot of DJs using. The latency was pretty good, and the output volume was decent, although it was fairly low compared to the rest. It's also got a plastic enclosure, which may not look quite as professional as something like the Audio Fire, which is nice and slick and very clean. Finally, a new competitor that's just entered the pack. This is a sound card that's trying to compete with the Audio 4. This is aimed straight at DJs. It's the MixVibes UMix 44, and it's got a pair of analog inputs, which you could use for CD players or for turntables for analog control over digital music inside of your software. It's also got a pair of RCA outputs, a small card, it's plastic, and this one definitely had probably the worst performance out of the bunch. It's a great price. One of the things I don't like about it is the built-in USB cable, which can get tangled on things, and should this start to break, your sound card is pretty much toast. So probably my least favorite of the bunch. So that's pretty much it. Here's 6 excellent sound cards that you can use for your DJ sets. For more information and specs on everything, visit us on djtechtools.com.